comments for items not on the agenda?
And let me take a look at the listing. I do not see any called in guests. So I think we are good for no public comment at this point. And I did not receive anything ahead of time for people wishing to speak ahead.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so with that, let's go for items for consideration and action. Item number 1, infrastructure and future subcommittee discussion of Woodland Branch. I don't know that we're going to receive subcommittee reports. We have no set format, but you know, perhaps we should have presentations and then a round robin discussion and go from there. So with that, is there, from the infrastructure subcommittee, Freddie, do you have something to present? Or?
No, I thought this was primarily Nelvin. With the automatic
Futures.
opening, I don't know what to call it, self-service.
Self-service, great. Nelvin, Commissioner G, to you.
Let me see if I can share my screen.
Nelvin, did we want to start with the video or do we want to jump right into the presentation?
Well, let's introduce the subject first.
Okay.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second, slideshow. There we go. All right, so our subcommittee consists of myself, Julie Crane, and Ying Liu. And this project actually kicked off because both of my fellow commissioners have awareness of self-service libraries that are operating in Europe and Asia. And so we thought, hey, does this make sense for Woodland or not? And actually, it looks like there are some instances where it does make sense. We have a relatively small footprint. It's one large room. There are limited hours of operation. We still have not yet opened up due to COVID. And I've heard of staff retirement, so that becomes a challenge. So what we did was we managed to get a hold of the library directors at 2 libraries that have actually implemented self-service here in the US. And we'd also talked to the primary vendor of this technology, which is Biblioteca. We had a number of different questions in mind, primarily around, you know, what are the lessons learned? How do people really like it? And have there been any significant downsides to this besides cost? And now we can go to a video that Julie has on her machine. But basically, when you think about self-service, besides the fact that you can do your self-checkout and all that, one instance is what's happening down in Chula Vista, where they implemented a kiosk using your library card. Also has a Wi-Fi hotspot, so you can locate this at locations other than your primary library. And then the Ventura County Hill branch, we actually interviewed the director there to better understand what their experience has been. But I think Julie believes that we really should take a look at Corona. So I am going to stop sharing and Julie can take over.
Thanks. So yeah, this is, I thought we would present, it's just a short YouTube video from the city of Corona introducing their Open Plus access. So.
And Julie, just make sure, similar to Zoom, when you share that box or the dialog box, just make sure that you click the box on the bottom to share sound.
That helps. Will do. Thank you for saying that. Okay. All right. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, we will start.
Hi, I'm Abby Lenning, and I'm here to give you some really great news about your Corona Public Library. Starting March 1st, we are extending our hours. You get 5 more hours of access to your Corona Public Library. That will include our regular hours of operation from 10 to 6, Monday through Thursday, and we are adding this great new opportunity called Open Plus VIP Access. do you need? A Corona Public Library card. With your card, give us a call or visit us online and we will get you all set up to have that special access to all the library has to offer.
Okay, that was pretty short there. I will stop sharing. So they do talk more about sort of what is required for their services, but I'll turn it back over to Nelman. Not sharing, right?
All right, you're good.
Okay. There you go.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on. So what this technology really entails is a control system that is hooked into some way of providing access. Typically, it is your library card. It also has a PA system, so it automatically can make announcements that, you know, the library is about to close, etc., as well as cameras to monitor the doors. Right now, Biblioteca has about 100 installations here in North America, 900 worldwide. The state of California actually wants to use Open Plus in 10 plus libraries. They had a program that we became familiar with given Brian's input to us. And this was back in 2020, so I'm sure that I don't know what the status is of that particular project, and we can certainly check in on that. The two libraries we talked to, one is in Minnesota and one is in Ventura County, California. Both are relatively small libraries. The main purpose for providing self-service was to expand the number of hours that the library would be available to folks in the area. What they also did was, the intent was not to reduce staffing at all. In fact, they worked closely with staff to ensure that policies and procedures were properly considered before opening it up. Typically, patrons would have to opt in, and you start off with a small pilot before expanding it. And so far, the reception has been pretty good. Now, the Jordan branch in Scott County, they were all set to go, but COVID hit, and they'll finally launch in September of this year. If you look at the Hill Road one, they started off with a little bit more than 100 patrons, and now there are over 2,000 that have opted into the program. Typically, there's an orientation program. The patrons have to sign an agreement as to, you know, code of conduct and what have you. They had no security issues so far, and in fact, Ventura County is actually going to expand this capability into another library of theirs. In terms of costs, roughly, you know, less than $20,000 in capital, and the other thing is an annual license fee from Biblioteca. We confirmed this in our call with them today. That's $12,000 a year.
Wow.
Why even offer self-service? The fact of the matter is that we serve a diverse population of patrons, whether they be older and just want some quiet time where the kids are not around, whether it's people who work different shifts and can't make the traditional hours, or even parents who want to go in with their kids and basically do some reading or books before the hustle and bustle of normal hours. In terms of our interview findings from today's discussion with Biblioteca, we found out that they're actually working on a large project for the San Jose Public Library. So we've asked for introductions, and they're going to check with their folks at San Jose before making those introductions. The company actually started in Scandinavia back in 2008, and they grew across Europe. As I mentioned, 100 installations in North America, 900 globally, and they are the predominant vendor of this technology. They have roughly a 60% market share. If we do decide to go forward with this, and I'm not saying we will, the subscription model has an initial 3-year commit, and it costs $12,000 a year. It takes roughly 3 months from start to finish to kind of get this thing up and running. it'll take us a lot more time because there's all that pre-work, the planning, the talking with staff, the development of policies and procedures. What we want to do is basically, what we want to do is start the discussion today, get the rest of the commission aware of what can be done, and find out how to move forward and whether to move forward. This is from our 2019 Santa Clara County Library District Survey of Patrons. Basically, about 40% of patrons basically said that they would like either self-service or key card access to the library. And if you look down here, the Los Altos main library patrons were less enthusiastic than the Woodland ones. And in terms of when they would like it, most of the folks really would prefer evenings more than mornings, but that was kind of an interesting find, because I think the Ventura County Library thought that the way they would do it would be to open up for morning, and they conveyed this thing about how they had these seniors that would come in, and after a while they would form a group in these early hours. When one of them didn't show up, the group basically decided to check in on that person. But yeah, it basically it is something to consider in terms of providing access outside the usual hours, but not necessarily to reduce staff, but rather to enhance it, and also to perhaps generate additional loyalty to the library. This is very similar to what I just showed you. So the question now is, what do we do going forward? We're happy to take questions. Most of our information is from research and some interviews, but I think we have a very clear understanding of what this capability can provide us.
Wow, it's so exciting. I mean, this is really much more than I anticipated. How do they, so if you just want to go in and use the computers, or for example, like Woodland, if you want to go in and just sit in the reading area and read your newspaper quietly, how do you physically get in? What is it that you are given? How does it work to get in the building?
I think I've seen at least two types of implementation. One is where your library card is scanned and you're asked to enter in a PIN code, and another where it's just the library card itself. You have some sort of a door that is tied into the server. It could be a magnetic gate, magnetic locking mechanism, or it could be the sliding glass doors. Mm-hmm. And in fact, Ventura County said that their mistake was that they implemented it with a magnetic door, and it didn't work out very well. So they actually had to invest about $28,000 in sliding glass doors.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
But it is an opt-in process. And in addition to onboarding folks and getting them to sign an agreement, we have to have a policy as to how old you can be before you can opt in. And I think I've seen people saying it's 16 years old, others folks saying it's 18 years old.
And so just real quick, can I share, there's a picture that they shared from the Hill Road Library, and it shows the, I need it, yeah, sorry. But this is just, if this helps, not sure that it does, but if this helps, this is a picture of the Hill Road Library and their door access. They also have a podium, I'd call it a podium, which can sit outside and which looks a little bit more high tech. But this was a picture of the Hill Road.
So is that somebody putting their library card, the barcode under it, and is just scanning it?
Yep. And then when we did this, Ying asked a great question, and that is, can it be on your phone? And they indicated that it could be. Oh. There may be some issues with the fact that as I understand it, Nelvin, correct me if I'm wrong, the Santa Clara County Library has gone with another vendor for checkouts, and so there might be an issue with that, but I'm not exactly sure.
This is
So shall we go?
I'm
Shall we
sorry.
go around to for questions?
Yeah, I
Or
still have a lot,
Freddie, did I interrupt you?
I still have a lot of questions.
All right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Virginia and Carol, please go ahead, and I'll follow up with my questions after you.
Well, my question was what that was partially answered with the past immediate video of the Ventura Library. I wanted to know what these two libraries that you researched were doing as far as this kind of access.
Yeah, we actually have a video of the Ventura Library, and in fact, some of the people on that video are folks that we talked to, if you care to watch it. I don't know, Chairman Bedard, do you think it's worth the group's time to spend 3 minutes on the video?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me share my screen again.
Thank you.
For the record, I love Chula Vista.
Okay, so this is the, hold on 1 second. 1 second, this is the wrong one.
And Nelvin, if you on the share, if you click on the caret, you'll just have to make sure to check the box to make sure you're sharing sound as well.
Okay, 1 second, where is that at?
The very bottom when you see the green share screen, it's the little caret on the side, and then go to advanced sharing options. Oh, no, hold on 1 sec. Click on the.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just make sure that that box is clicked.
Okay. And I need to go to the history. And it's, where is it? You know what? Give me 1 moment.
I found it if you want me to show it.
You have it?
I think this is the one, the Ventura County Library customer video.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to my slide and click the link, which will launch it.
Okay.
Can you guys see what's coming up now?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
The Hill Road Library opened to the public on December 3rd. What we wanted to do is find a way to provide access to the library, and we had only limited funding for staffing. I came across the Open Plus product from Biblioteca. Our strategic goals initially were very simple: empower patrons through self-service and to give them access to library services.
Open Plus hours, we get a lot of seniors who come in and enjoy the quiet, and moms who come in early hours, they have an opportunity to really relax and have some close time with their kids. Or people who are working on research or doing more scholarly work, they want to come in and check out a laptop to do work away from home.
I was surprised with how open people were to the idea. Perhaps the group that was the most cautious were library staff members. Luckily, we were able to talk and discuss before we actually implemented. And I have to say now they're some of the biggest supporters. I like to come early to the library, so when they started the express hours here from 8 to 10, that was perfect for me.
This gave me an opportunity to get up, get cleaned up, get on your bicycle, and go to the library. And so for me, wife loves it. She can clean the house, and it's worked out good. So it's something to do when you're retired. And look at what a nice place.
So for libraries out there that are considering going with Open Plus, this has really impacted our work here in this community. Some of the reservations that folks had here about, will people steal things or will they vandalize the building? And I just want to say that nothing like that has happened here, and we feel like the people instead have really embraced this as their space. If we can, as libraries, just provide more access any way we can, this seems like such a great way to do it.
Okay, so one of the things they did mention was they designed this library initially to handle self-service.
To what?
Hold on a second, I gotta.
I still didn't understand you, Melvin.
Hold on, I gotta turn something off for some reason.
Melvin?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm trying to find my way back to Ring Central.
Oh, well, we can see you. And
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, here I am. I see it now. All right. So like I said, they initially designed the Hill Road Library to be self-service. And so they had the cameras and all that planned. One of the things that they also did was make sure that their shelving is only 4 feet tall, so the cameras have a really good view of what's going on inside the building. But this is a start. I mean, we're thinking that this is appropriate because we know that the Woodland Library has its challenges in terms of being able to service the patrons. This seems like an opportunity to increase that service level. What I think the team is pretty enthusiastic about going forward. We would appreciate the input of our fellow commissioners on how to do that. We would also want to think through what the next steps are, because that's something that we're not sure of right now in terms of which folks to engage next.
Does anybody from your group, Ying or Julie, do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. I think basically, I do have some probably talking points with regard to what the next step, would be. But in terms of the service and also the scope of the project, I think Melvin has covered pretty well. Yeah.
And Julie?
Yeah, I think Melvin did a fantastic job. The only thing that I would emphasize in terms of next steps is that I think it's fair to say, repeatedly heard that one of the big concerns was the workers and the staff, not only their concerns about confidentiality, but also just from a union perspective, to be clear that we're not trying to take away anybody's jobs. So, for that reason, I do think it's at some point it needs to be shared with the city council so they can take whatever steps, and ultimately the county, so they can take whatever steps that they need to take to ensure that the unions are aligned, that this is not about Southwest Altos losing access to librarians. We feel that they're very necessary.
That's a very good question. I know we have Mr. Fitzgerald on the line.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it is obviously a concern that we would need to consider. And I think the best way to do that is being as transparent as possible and just talking to staff and working them through that. And that's really something that we would do. But Rose and her team are they're fantastic, and I think the opportunity here is to provide the same level of service in terms of regular hours that we had in the past, and then just kind of expand it with Open Plus, right? Add that additional layer that I think would be really helpful and I think very supported by the community too.
Thank you. And Rose, I see you're here.
Yes, I don't have much more to add. The point Julie brought up was brought up by pretty much all of the library systems that we have met with, and when they did bring it up, it was great. I was so grateful that they brought it up because it does get us thinking and to how to move forward if we're to move forward with Open Plus and make sure that, as Steve said, we are transparent. So I agree with all the points that were made with that.
Thank you. And so we'll go around for questions. Freddie.
So I just wanted to ask Steve and Rose, is this something the county would look favorably upon if we could, implement it, fund it, et cetera? Is this something that is potentially a go?
Absolutely. So we're always looking at ways to provide additional service, and to do so with technology like this. I mean, it's really, to me, it's really innovative and really exciting. And I think, Woodland's the perfect place to try it too. And, whether we expand it out to other libraries, that's neither here nor there yet, but of course that's always something we'd be thinking about. But I don't see a better opportunity in our entire system than Woodland. And I know Jennifer's talked about it before. I know Chris Brown was very interested in it too, the former deputy county librarian. But I mean, this seems like a lot of wins, or like it checks a lot of boxes to me. And yeah, we would be very interested in moving forward.
That's excellent. I also think it's a really opportune, timing-wise, if Woodland, if there's so many things that we could do with Woodland. The first thing, if opening it up with this would be really fantastic. The fact that you can use it after hours gives the facility so much more potential uses for the community, for library patrons. But I also wanted to ask you, so let's envision the expanded Woodland that has a community meeting room in it. How would it be feasible to have meetings that were conducted by a patron? A patron said, I want to check out this room, the meeting room, for 2 hours on X night. Like the orchard room is reserved, and the patron was, organized a meeting, some kind of community meeting, and if there was, for example, a separate door on the meeting room, an outside door that had the barcode self-service entry, so that you could allow people to come in with that, maybe, and I really don't know how this all works, but suppose the person who rented the room was given a key code, a code that allowed them to open the door to the community meeting room for that night at that time, and they could hold their meeting, and then they're responsible for leaving the thing clean and in order, and at the end of the meeting. That would open up the rooms for uses that would go beyond just during the staff time. Is that something, I mean, since staff doesn't have to be there anyway, it would seem like that could be feasible to do it that way.
This is Julie. May I share something? I don't know. I mean, I think this is definitely relevant to your question. I don't know, Steve, if this is doable. One of the things that they talked about, and I'll share the screen, is this product called Open Reserve. And so you could reserve a specific time at the library. Now, again, I don't know how this overlaps with current services. So this is, this is basically current rules for visiting the library. And then this shows the current occupancy where you could set occupancy limits. And then this shows that the individual had booked a visit. So I don't know if that's if that's an available offering, given what we already do, but there was an opportunity for people to reserve space at the library.
So maybe some iteration of that could be used for not just, I mean, you know, for Woodland to be able to book those rooms for community meetings. I mean, you could even book the teen room. You could have 2 community rooms at night.
I think this is something to look into with Biblioteca, but I know that in our research, there are some libraries that close certain rooms off. You only have access to a part of the library. Now the question is, can you have a carded access to a meeting room in addition to the front entrance? So I don't know the answer.
It's just, you know, some possibilities that would really make, if we were able to expand Woodland and if we had those, you know, the facility there, it would really make it a great opportunity to be able to use it a lot so that people had meeting spaces for all these community organizations that want to meet. This is really interesting and really quite the opportunity. It's perfect for Woodland. Perfect.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, what do you think our future subcommittee should do next in terms of this particular project?
Well, we still.
Don't you have to do a formal memo and get the commission to approve it as a whole, right?
Before that, I'd like to go on with questions if that's possible, because I'm holding fire on mine as we go around. But Regina, do you have any comments, questions?
I just thought it's a great idea. It's very exciting. If we can make it work for Woodland, that would be great. I think following up with Freddie's question, because you're saying to open up the community center also for meetings. I thought it's a great idea, but does that mean a card holder, a library card holder can bring in other guests that are non-library card holders to the meeting room, right? There would be a case for that. So I guess for the system that they built in, they're thinking, I have a way of tracing you. Whoever reserved the room, I know who goes in and who goes out, right? So that might be, but if it's a guest, then you have no way of tracing them.
I think that these are policy questions that we'll have to figure out in conjunction with staff. But I know that for the Hills Road Library, they don't have any significant meeting space. It's just one large area, and yeah, individuals come in, they don't, and you're not supposed to bring anyone else unless you're a parent with young children.
Right. I mean, that kind of makes sense. That makes them traceable. And also, I guess with the cameras, in case something does happen, is it like a home camera situation where it will alert a security system and then the police will come, or how does that work? I'm just thinking worst case here.
I don't think that the videos are manned in terms of someone's looking in on them. They're just used for record retention. And in fact, the issue of privacy was brought up quite a bit in our conversations with librarians. Scott County has a 3-day retention period. Ventura County has a 5-day. And in fact, to pull any video at Ventura County requires the authorization of the library director.
Okay.
That's how they.
So the library keeps the record.
Yeah, it's actually locally, it's retained on site.
We do have some locations with security cameras now, and we have something similar. So only the director or somebody they assign can go back and take a look at those videos that are stored for I think we do about 6 to 7 days, kind of depending on the capacity of the hard drive.
Okay.
And from Ventura County, I remember her story about, now then correct me if I'm wrong, she drove up when it was first starting and she sat in the parking lot to see how people would enter the building. And there were, a number of people out there, and they politely waited as the first person went in, the door closed, and then the next person went up, and she said that's when she knew that this would work.
Yep.
So it's also about building that community around this is our library and we need to take care of it and protect it.
That's very nice.
Yeah, it's cute.
Thank you. That's all I can think of for now.
I have a question.
So we'll go to Commissioner Carter.
Melvin, what was the feedback from Scott County? We've heard about Ventura County and how it operated. What is the difference between how this system works back east and how it's working in Southern California?
Yeah, Scott County is kind of a unique circumstance. They have a small library that's located with a senior living facility. They had planned on opening it, but then COVID hit. So right now they're talking about launching in September of this year. So they don't have any real experience yet with how well it's going to be received. They did go through the whole privacy policy and all that. They had people opt in for a pilot of it, but we'll just have to, and he actually sent us a number of their policies so we can review it, but they don't have any practical experience with people actually using the service just yet.
Do they have a date for opening?
September.
Okay. So we'll want to find out what happens for them.
Yeah, and Julie's found Corona, and now that we hear about San Jose implementing this technology, we can actually go talk to those folks once we're given the okay, and see what considerations they had in terms of designing it.
Thank you.
Pierre, you've been holding your fire.
Yes, and now I've forgotten everything I was going to ask, but
Adjourned.
yes. First off, are the machines, are the systems compatible? In other words, does this mean that patrons would need another library card?
No.
To use the system?
No, it's the same library card. There's a possibility that they would need a personal PIN, just like you would an ATM card. You would have it scanned and then you got to enter it. So therefore, it's two things. One is, basic security, something you possess, your library card, something your PIN, and so no biometrics or anything like that.
That's great. So it's the way you check out today, because I noticed in one of your drawings, it's the same. In one of the, not videos, but your schematic showed the same type of checkout system, it seemed. The liability issue is probably going to be messy, but soluble. I noticed that the lessons learned were very good. Overall, fantastic presentation. The costs seem eminently reasonable. And I'd have a question to the county, to Steve maybe. Is it possible to write grants for this type of system?
Yeah, there are all sorts of technology grants that we could probably tap into and take a look at to see if there's a fit. I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, Cal State does a lot of work with IMLS, of course. So we can work with the team at Los Altos and see if we can find something that would be that would align.
Great. So I'm just looking forward. You need the money, of course, to get this done. So whatever, if it's through grants, through any other organizations. I mean, this goes very much in line with making Woodland sort of the cutting edge of library technology, something that's near and dear to my heart, and it serves the community really well, in line with everything. Thank you. Commissioner Wheeler.
Yeah, I mean, I just am so impressed with this. You guys did a great job. Lots and lots of research and looking. It's really, really super presentation. So exciting. I just think it would just be an incredibly good thing to do. And I think Woodland really is the perfect venue to do this. I think we ought to collaborate on what makes sense as the next steps. I mean, I think just as a formality, it needs to be sent to the commission as a whole as an agenda item to be voted on, go through that formality so that the city council understands that we as a commission approve this and are recommending it. I also think it would be very helpful that when it's presented to the council, that we are able, with your permission, Stephen Rose, to say in our memo that this is something that the county is very excited about and that feels Woodland would be the appropriate venue to try this out, because I think that would be very persuasive, and that we're looking for grant money, et cetera, to pay for it, or really this is a very small amount of money when you think about the money. I mean, it is an annual commitment of $12,000, but I'm thinking Lolly keeps saying they're looking for places to spend their money. They have to spend a certain amount of money every year, and they haven't been able to. This might be something they'd be interested in funding. So, I mean, I think putting that all together as a package makes it much more attractive. It's kind of like, this is a great idea and it could be paid for and everybody's on board. So why would they not be receptive? That would be my suggestion for going forward.
I think that's a great idea, and I can commit Jennifer. I don't know if I'll be there. No, I'm just kidding. One of us will be there, and we can help present at any city council meeting. Rose, I'm sure, would be thrilled to go as well, and we can kind of present it as a joint project that we've both, we've worked a lot of those details out. The further along you are, and the more data and information you have, the more likely city council would be to approve it, because it shows you've done homework. So we were thoughtful.
Just as a point of, I'm not sure that the city council needs to approve it per se. That it needs to be agendized. I mean, from informational for sure, but I don't know that it's something they really need to vote on. We have the elements,
if they don't
I think, to make it.
Pay for it, I don't think if they don't have to pay for it, they probably don't have to vote on it, but they need to be for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How can they not be for it?
Well, I think so. That's the kind of the next steps that we probably need to get straight, or at least think about. I do think we need to get the city council's blessing in whatever format. Then we probably, this is where probably Jamie can help us understand what's the process for things like a private, if that's come to a privately funded project. Or something, but even before that, I actually felt like this is a very cross-functional project, meaning that we'll need, of course, library commissioners, and then the Los Altos library staff, and also the county library staff, and even I think we probably need to make sure, like the police and the park and rec, or whoever that owns like even the parking space, because if this is going to be after hours, then there will be security and other things. So I feel like before even we go to the city council, I think we need to have a formal proposal. At the same time, we need to confirm, or at least some sort of pledge about where the funding will be coming from. But of course, we need to put a budget together to really make this meaningful. So that's kind of my initial reaction to this, and I really want to thank Melvin and Julie about all the coordinations that they made in the outreach. Yeah, so.
Rose, you had your hand up before. Is there something you wanted to bring up?
I just wanted to mention when the grants were brought up that last, I know you had it in your presentation, Melvin, about the Khalifa grants. We had applied last summer for a Khalifa grant for Open Plus, actually at Woodland, with Chris, when Chris Brown was here. And unfortunately, they were only giving it out to low income communities. So we didn't receive the grant, but, just wanted to mention that. That's it.
Are there other grants maybe that we might qualify for, do you think?
We can look into that, yeah.
Okay. Because I think Yen's correct. I think we need to, I don't think we're ready to go to city council or tomorrow, but getting all of our ducks in a row, just trying to find out how this could be funded. And if there are no grants, I think we should ask Lolly. And if they would commit to funding this, then that would be that done.
I agree. I think the thing that triggered, I'm sort of going to correct what I said about the city council. I think the city attorney probably has a lot to say on usage, and because it will be city property, liability, indemnification, things of that nature. So I was a little too quick. It will need to be staffed, I believe, in the city with that in mind, for sure. Whether it goes to the council or not, I'm not sure, but certainly informationally.
The policy,
and prepare.
Yeah, the policies will have to be coordinated through. Melvin, did you say you had a bunch of policies from one of the places?
Yeah, from South County, and I don't know about my fellow commissioners, but I haven't had a chance to review it yet.
Yeah, and also I'm not so sure if it's going to take some sort of public hearing, because I think we're definitely all fully on board, but at the same time it will be probably prudent to get community input as well.
Yeah.
So at least we get the residents involved, because even the neighbors who are, I don't know about Los Altos, but for Los Altos Hills, for whatever project, it takes probably 500 feet or something. I think I need to inform all the neighbors in the immediate neighborhood to make sure they're on board as well.
Yeah, I think that's for building. But anyway, we can explain.
Yeah, well, that's for building, but at the same time, if they're going to be after hours, then people may have concerns about security or parking or noise or things like that. And I just felt like to give a full sort of democratic, process, we need to get, something like a public hearing or survey to make sure that we get other people's voices heard.
Yeah, I think we're at a stage now where we're trying to identify all the ducks we need to get in a row first. Yeah. So why don't I and my fellow commissioners on the future subcommittee start putting together a list of these items that need to be part of a program, and then bounce it off other folks at a regular meeting, and then we can have a discussion as to whether we've captured it properly or not, and at the same time work on a memo that would come in front of the full commission.
Good idea. I like that.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. With the policies, with any library policies, don't those have to go to the JPA? I don't know if we have to add that to the list, or maybe I'm wrong on that.
It doesn't have to be absolutely everything. It kind of depends. So it's one of those nebulous answers I'm going to give you, but I don't think there would be anything here other than an informative to the JPA so far. Like, I don't see anything that we would need to get through them.
Great. Are there any other questions?
I just have a comment about the public hearing. So if this were to be put as an agenda item on the city council meeting, that is a public hearing. You know, I'm not sure.
Need to get the input from the community. Yeah.
Well, that's an optional. It may be a nice to do. Okay, Jamie?
No, the few pieces that I was going to clarify, and I would have to go back to the agreement between the, as an example, what was going through my mind as far as, I know the obviously the land and the building are owned by the city, and then the county staff are the ones that operate the library services. But when we put in the, as an example, like the canopy at Woodland to protect the book return, I know that was, I think that the county was actually the one that that paid for that piece. And so I am not as up on that or familiar with it. I have to go back. But as far as putting in something like that, and as far as that piece, I'm not sure that it would have to be an approval per se by count, unless, and where I'm going with this, like as an example, and Freddie, to your point, like if there was potentially an expansion of Woodland, obviously that type of project is something that would need to be approved by city council, because that would be affecting, you know, building, that would be a capital improvement project. But something to the like small in service, that was, I'm not sure that that would necessarily require, and I would have to do further inquiry or research. But my initial instinct is that this type, unless it's extensive, like an expansion, wouldn't necessarily need to go through that process, but I would have to double check.
I suspect you're right on that, Jamie. And you know, the that delineation between, you know, what city and what county, it's not always clear, but it's usually pretty clear. So it's you know, it's one of those things we kind of work with the individual cities, and if there's something that, you know, we can just take care of and it's helpful for our patrons, like you were just discussing, you know, we might be able to find funding for something like that. But generally speaking, the interior is the library and the exterior is the city.
Yeah, I think it's what I want to add to that comment is I think we probably also need to decide, or at least propose, what the extended hours going to be, because from the meetings with the service provider as well as the other libraries that have been using this, I think it's also a question, like as a pilot run, maybe the extended self-service hours will only be in the morning or in the early evening or something like that to begin with. And then maybe at some point it can further extend. But I think what I'm trying to say with regard to the hours is I also feel, you know, there may be an impact in the neighborhood. And so whether or not it requires a public hearing, I think we should leave this decision up to the city council. We're just the library commissioners to present the project. But I think the city council should have better, I would believe they would have better ideas of what they want to do next.
And I also think if we had something like a patrons panel to provide input, that they would have pretty strong opinions as to what hours they might want to see in terms of extended operation.
I mean, your presentation had great data on the wishes of the patrons.
Yeah, evenings, right?
Yeah, but I think to Ying's point, there are ways to satisfy the notice, or at least to solicitation of the client, of the patron's input. It could be as simple as a survey, or you know, we can, but that's certainly something that we need to consider as to how to do it.
And the neighbors, you know, I think she has a valid point about the neighbors. So, but that could be something that is one of those, it's like when they provide notice for a building or something where it's so many feet from.
500 feet.
It used to be 500. Now I thought it was 1,000 for some.
Oh.
They changed it to 1,000 for something.
I think you're right, Freddie. It's 1,000 feet. They doubled it.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever it is, and whatever is appropriate, I think they do that by mail, by sending out something in mail, and then getting the feedback from that. So that might be something, you know, that would certainly be something that, you know, we could talk to. I think it would be good to talk to Sally, our liaison, to see what she thinks, and then, you know, maybe she could inquire for us, or we could inquire ourselves, you know, with perhaps the building people, how they do the notice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ying, go ahead.
Just a very quick comment. The reason why I basically felt a little bit strongly about the public input is I also feel like we're setting a precedent in terms of present in terms of what we're going to do with the main library in the future, because I feel like the more we get community members and public involved in the decision-making process and getting their voices heard, they feel like they're being respected. And then they give us more trust in what we're doing. So that's kind of another perspective I want to bring to the table.
A poll of the neighbors, did you say within 1,000 feet you need to do that?
That's what they do for building.
Oh, okay.
It's not necessary.
Poll of the neighbors shows support for this kind of activity. That would go a long way in getting the council to approve the project.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a good idea to sort of put out feelers and see how people feel about this.
Mm-hmm.
People who live in the neighborhood, especially.
So this is Julie. I do think we need to be also thoughtful about not going out too quickly without educating people about the experience of the other libraries, that this is not, nobody has experienced any vandalism, that they haven't experienced, I think it was Ventura said that they had one computer stolen during staffed hours. So not even during the open access hours. But I just, I don't want to put too much process on this where people stop it before we fully understood everything and the experience of other libraries. So that would be my only.
Good point.
I agree with you. And I think I actually think maybe that neighborhood polling should be last. Get everything up, do educational things so that people see all the benefits first and the experience of all these other libraries, which is all positive.
And if I could share, this is one from the Scotts County schedule. And so, I could see one of the things neighbors being concerned about is their Open Plus starts at 6 a.m. and maybe it could be adjusted to a little bit later. That's a possibility. They have it open till 10 p.m. You can see that basically it's only Open Plus on Fridays and Sundays. This is their example. And what we can do, I think and Melvin did such a brilliant job in his presentation, we can compile a report with data like this, the information that we got. We have their policy, we have their open hours, and we have some of their documentation.
Yeah, and in the case of Scott County, you got to remember that this is co-located with a senior living facility. So they really wanted to make it convenient for residents of that building to get access.
Very good point. Yeah.
In the past, what people have done, I know the Complete Streets Commission has done it, where they've notified people around the areas they're going to do stuff with, and then they hold a meeting.
Yeah.
Or several community meetings. And I know Jamie probably knows about this. That's usually seems to be the norm in Los Altos, from what I've seen.
This would be a great one to hold at Grant Park Senior Center, which is you know, where so many of the people who use, a lot of the seniors, obviously, who use Woodland congregate. And hopefully, you know, we'll start doing things again and, you know, opening up that again so we can have in-person meetings. That would be ideal for this kind of a situation.
What do you mean? We can't do stuff on Zoom anymore?
No.
Anyway, are there any further I mean, this is great. Great presentation, team. This is amazing. It really is. Are there any other comments, questions? No? So let's move on, I guess, to the next portion, which, Freddie, is that you? Your team?
Well, actually, I think you really pretty much know everything. I don't have anything really new to report. I'm trying to get the drawings and the presentation in as good a form as possible, and then send it to the commission as a whole for input before we meet with the NCLA in July. Okay, so that's what I'm working on. I don't have anything better to show you today than I showed you, you know, whenever we had our library meeting. But that was the 13th. That was
last week.
Is that right? I'm lost. Okay. Every day is. So I don't have anything better to show you than I did last week, but I will get that going and get it out to everyone so you can give me ideas and input and suggestions, edits, and then maybe Melvin will be nice enough to make it look better.
Well,
and so that's me. That's all I have. I wanted to put Woodland on the agenda so we could talk about, you know, so it actually was broad enough so we could talk about everything in this meeting for the ridiculous Brown Act, which drives me crazy. But
well, I mean, this is great because we have, I mean, everyone here now, all the subcommittees know what you guys are doing, and we can talk freely, and the services subcommittee can meet and take credit for all the good work of the future subcommittee, which is really the only thing I want out of it. No, but the one thing, I just want to throw one thing out. Once we have a presentation, we need to take advantage of one-on-one marketing with the county, well, the county too, but with our city council people, members. And there's open hours or open office hours that usually are not very well attended. They last for 2 hours. And it's a great opportunity to show up and just get one-on-one with them. And, you know, even if all you say is library, yay, we're moving forward, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You stay on the radar, and those micro marketing moments, we should, I mean, if you see them at Draeger's or Safeway, you know, keep reminding them of where our goal is and where we're headed, because Woodland is a big, 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 big issue to this city and the town of Los Altos Hills, for both. So anyway, that was my Pierre's 2 cents on this. And is there, I mean, should we continue the meeting and discuss more, or are we, no? I'm seeing votes, head votes. So I guess you all want me to adjourn this? Is that what I'm hearing?
Anything else? If not, let's.
Great job.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Job. Boy, what a super job. Just incredible. Really.
Well, I got to thank Julie. She's been very proactive in reaching out to people to interview.
Fantastic. That's
and I
fantastic.
grew up near Chula Vista. And to see Chula Vista on a slide, to me, is like, I mean, if you've ever been to Chula Vista, it's like the most underrated city.
Yep. It's the redheaded stepchild, as they used to say down there in San Diego. Yeah.
They fight with National City.
Yes.
Sorry, too many inside San Diego jokes. So with that, thank you very much. And we will see each other at our next, some of you I'll see tomorrow, but we'll see each other at our next meeting, which is coming up, I'm sure. First week of June.
Can we agendize this topic so that we can discuss it at the full commission meeting?
Absolutely. Don't see a reason why not. It's agendized already. The reason for the work plan is that in a sense it's already agendized because you can use the work plan as saying, you know, but if we can do it formally, let's do it.
Okay.
And Jamie can.
And I guess the only question for that is because looking at the calendar, we are the first Thursday, so it's 2 weeks from now, which is June 3rd. And so I wanted to check in and see that's a quick turnaround. I wasn't sure if, and as long as we have at least 3 commissioners that want that on the agenda, we should be good. And just making sure that we have, I guess the information would be ready.
I think we can put it together. I mean, I think it might still be a work in progress if people see gaps in it that we need to, but Nelvin and Ying.
Oh, Ying had to, unfortunately she had another meeting, but no, we can, at this point, we can put it on the agenda, and then the subcommittee can keep me updated. And if we need to push that out to the next agenda, we can always do that.
Okay.
You can always just give us an update, you know, anyway.
So we can have a draft memo that we can review as a full commission. There is one other thing that I should bring up, not related to self-service, but the other thing that this future subcommittee owes the full commission is the roadmap towards a redeveloped library. I think we have enough information now where we can put something down as to what has to happen and have that in front of the commission, but I'd rather defer that until the following commission meeting. And the reason for that is the fact that we're talking about a much, you know, more of a long time frame in that. Mm-hmm. So the criticality is not as important right now. It's not as critical.
That makes sense.
We do have Cindy, right, on the agenda?
That is correct. We have the presentation to give the history, and that'll be Cindy with the help of Diane Schmidt. And so that is scheduled for the June 3rd meeting.
Great. So thank you all. I officially adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Steve, Rose. I know it's hard to be here, unlike us who love this. You guys need to come to all these meetings and listen to us take our junk. But thank you very much for your help.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Good night.
Bye-bye all.
Great night.
Good night.